Today I will present a session regarding 10 things that can help you to secure your Entra ID. My name is Robert. I'm a Microsoft MVP from security category. Originally it was enterprise mobility, but at some point Microsoft did the change. But let's move on and give you a little bit of knowledge about who I am and why I'm here. Like I said, I'm a Robert. I'm working as a cloud solution architect or security solution architect. In the right down corner, you can find some areas where you can find me, like my LinkedIn profile and my 2 blogs links. Actually, both links will move you to the same web page, but I will turn off my camera. Let me do it because the light is not so proper in my room. So both links will guide you to the same page, but yeah, one is like a Polish national link, and the second one is the international.com. So let's give you a little bit of information about myself. I'm coming from on-premise world, right? Long time ago, like 10 years ago, everybody was in an on-prem world. So I was focused on Active Directory service and including all related services. So the identity for me was always the case. And I was also doing everything with the PowerShell where it's possible, meaning that if I was doing something more than once or twice, I was trying to do it by PowerShell. Then for the second pillar came, which was the cloud. At some point, I have started working with the hybrid world, where I was focused on Entra ID. Nowadays it's called Entra ID, but previously it was called Azure ID. We all know that. Then cloud adoption framework, migrations, some of the IaaS part, like hardening of the IaaS and the networking and so on, plus Azure Virtual Desktop, because we all know some time ago there was a problem around the world, and the Azure Virtual Desktop, at that point it was called Windows Virtual Desktop, was the solution to let people working remotely. But with this also, I was using AVD in some specific areas, because the third pillar on my side is security, meaning that securing on premises in enterprise scale is the thing that I'm working very often. Additionally, I'm working very often on the security assessment and remediations over the on-prem and Azure world, like Entra ID, network security, resource security. But the third point on the security list, you can see that this is the compromise recovery, where I'm helping my customers who I'm working with to get back the access to their environment after a ransomware or a hacker's attack. In this particular situation, I'm using AVD very often. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft MVP as well, have multiple certifications around Microsoft products. So yeah, this is who I am. Let's move to the core of today's session and start from very good question, I think. What we want to defend. Basically, here you can see like a helicopter view of the map of the resources, where in the middle of the screen you can see its old name, Azure Active Directory, but we all know it was changed. So sometimes we always use the old names. But why I'm showing it to you is because I would like to give you the point of view that Azure AD or Entra ID in this moment is like one common block that allows access to everything, like GitHub, like resources, like Office 365, like many other things, identity governance, such as guest invite process and etc. All of the things rely on identity that comes from Azure. So we need to prevent access, unauthorized access to this. So how we can do it? So how we can do it is simple. We need to start thinking about that in the right way. So first 2 points from my 10 points list would be frameworks and benchmarks. So in all of the slides, in top right corner, you will see the number which points from the 10 points list I will refer to. And of course, first point, like I said, is a framework and then benchmark. So I cannot present that without mentioning MITRE ATT&CK, which is a framework showing some techniques and tactics of the attackers that were used in the past and proposing mitigation on such attacks. We need to know that MITRE is the framework that hosts or that's providing you knowledge about past attacks. It's not providing you knowledge about future attacks. It's related always on the past attacks resources. Then second thing, SIS workbench, like benchmark or best practices that you can implement in your environment. And it's not both of them, both those resources are not focused on locked only on the Microsoft Azure world. It's available for all of the platforms. It depends on what platform you will choose, right? You can use the SIS for hardening your on-premise workstations like member servers and so on. And by the way, SIS is the center of internet security, as per my knowledge. So going further, small demo about the MITRE ATT&CK. So here you can see that I went through the technique list, and then we can see all of the informations, like, for example, related to Azure AD cloud accounts. So we can see the examples of the ATP groups, which were used by attackers. Then we can see the information around what are the mitigations, what are the vectors of attacks, how we can choose to do something bad or prevent having such a stuff in our environment. And here we have a password guessing. I will move it a little back in a screen to show you a little bit more about this particular technique. Brute force password guessing. So on the right side of the screen of the video, you can see platforms where it's applicable. So Azure AD, it was still not changed. It should be Entra ID. So basically here you can see that it could be for Azure platform, it could be for containers, Google Workspace, and many, many more things. Then you will see typically ports used for this particular attack, then procedures of examples. So here you can see what happened in the past by which hackers group or attackers group, how they get the access to the specific environment. And and then you saw mitigations section, meaning that how you can address this particular finding within your environment, right? What can you do, like a password policies or multi-factor authentication, or updating the software, or having the account spread between the admin accounts and normal accounts. Then last section is how you can detect, meaning that how you can do the proper monitoring, right? So I would recommend to all of the people attending to my session to check the MITRE ATT&CK webpage. It's not requiring any membership and so on. Those resources that I'm presenting right now are free of charge on their website, and I'm pretty sure that you can find something interesting for you. Then SIS Workbench, another place where you can find some information around best practices or recommendations within the cloud, as an example, right? So here you can see the identity section of the SIS Workbench for Azure Foundation. And I will walk you through in this video to my favorite finding, which will be related to access to Entra ID, or previously well known as a Azure AD portal for people who don't have access, who should not have access there. So in a minute, you will see that. Yeah. It was somewhere here, as I remember. It should be now. Yeah, let me, yeah, this is the one. So here, ensure that restrict access to Azure Administrator portal is set to yes. So basically here you can see the full list of the informations, like how you can audit that, how you can remediate, what is the default value. Sorry, excuse me. What is the default value if you will go to the freshly deployed portal, and the whole description. In a nutshell, it prevents standard users accessing the portal. It will help you to prevent situation that somebody would like to make a data gathering around your environment and steal this data, right? So here we can see even that we have those informations like the default values, but we also have MITRE attack mapping. This is why I started from MITRE, right? Because MITRE will give you the big part of the informations where under the Cs you can map them to your findings or recommendations. And as per my knowledge, MITRE attack is well-known framework that every particular security team understand that, right? So this could be a good thing for you as a second step from 10 points list to consider by having it in your environment. Going further to the third, it should be third, not fifth. Sorry, to the third thing from my list would be zero trust. I'm pretty sure, and I hope that all of the people attending this session knows zero trust. Zero trust is a simple buzzword that is not a fresh one. It's pretty old. It's more than 30 years old idea, but how it works? Nowadays, it works in that way that we should think about securing access to the environment on multiple stages, multiple levels, like identity, like a devices part, applications, infrastructure, network, and data. All those things are interconnected to each other. And then basically, if we'll have failure on one of the levels, we might have some issues on the other levels. And simple example of zero trust, if you will configure your environment according to the zero trust methodology properly, you will prevent some attacks. And the first attack that comes to my mind is that sometimes companies forget about disabling possibility for users to register applications within the Entra ID environment. And I'm not saying only about the app registration, but also enterprise applications. And I don't know if you're aware, but there is an application called Perfect Data Software that you can Google it in the cloud, but please do not register it within your environment, because what will happen when you will register this particular application, enterprise application within your environment? It will gain access to your mailbox, and then it will dump it as a PST, and then it will steal all the data from your mailbox, right? And this is like a well-known vector of attack that people are forgetting to block. So basically, zero trust is mentioning that we should not trust anybody at any point. Long time ago, people were thinking that if I'm connected to my environment through VPN, that's awesome. I can work from home and I'm secure. No, VPN is like a connection feature to point one side to another, not feature related to security. So this is why I pretty like this particular screen to share with the people, to show how many things we need to remember, right? Where we need to put our attention in order to implement secure world. Fourth point will be described soon, and I will show you a small demo on that. But first of all, I need to ask a question. What do you mean by basic Entra ID configuration? Basically, based on my knowledge and experience from the past projects, my customers or companies which who I was working with around the world, because yeah, I'm based in Europe, but I was working a lot in the Middle East, in the US as well, on Asia as well. So I had experience around the globe, but normally what I saw is basic Entra ID configuration. Yeah, we need to verify domain because we want to use our own domain. We need to make an Entra ID connect and synchronize everything to the cloud without any right understanding what we are doing. Because like 70% of projects where I was involved were showing always the same, meaning that people were synchronizing every particular uh, object from on-premise to the cloud, even though the tiered accounts were synchronized to the cloud, which is not so good. So this is why it's important to first of all create right the delegation on the service account and do it manually, and then I mean manually by creating that on your own, not by mm, the application during the installation, and then choose in a clever way what you want to synchronize. Third point would be license assignment, because without licenses, people will not be able to work on Teams. And then login screen setup, because yeah, everybody wants to show their logo when logging to the Azure. But what's missing here? A lot of things, to be honest. First, access to Entra ID portal. I already described that. Why we need to allow standard users who should log into the Teams or Outlook or Office 365 as a suite, and why we need to let them see who is a member of each group, how we have configured group membership, or how many users we have. It should be blocked just to make sure that nobody will have too much access to the environment. Then next 2 points are around applications, app registration and enterprise app registration. I already described the problem as an example of the perfect data software, but we need to think in that way that users should not be able to register applications because they don't know what permissions they need. This is part of the work that admins should do. Fourth option is guest account permissions. Also, standard setup is pretty bad, meaning that we should consider enabling or disabling some features in Azure AD to prevent guests being able to invite other guests. Self-service password reset in case of any forgotten password cases, but we should be aware that it could be also used as a vector of attack. Security groups and M365 groups creation. This is the next point that I would like to highlight. Auditing is the almost everywhere. We need to audit, we need to use boot diagnostics of the Entra ID to make sure it will store data properly, and then set up external identities. So let's time for the first demo. Now I will move to my Entra ID tenant and will guide you around what should we do from my point of view when it comes to securing environment. First of all, let's go to the users section and then user settings. What we need to change? Basically, the default settings are like yes, 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 everywhere where it's possible. It looks like that, but it's not so good. Users should not be able to register applications. They should not be able to create new tenants, and they should not be able to create security groups. Why? Because it should be controlled in the right way, meaning that people should be able to request groups, for example. The identity and access management team should make it work. Then guest users should be restricted to properties owning by them. Admin center, we should not allow users reaching out the Entra ID portal without specific permissions like a directory reader. My way of the link on the LinkedIn stuff is we should not link it because it could also let people build mind map of our environment and try to plan and plan activities around social hacking of the people. And we should prevent situations for keeping users signing. My favorite case is that we should disable this particular option, and then we should create conditional access policies with the signing configuration, letting us be active for 8 hours, and then after that we need to authenticate again. So this is the first thing. Second thing, group staff. Here on the general, we should switch users from creating security. We should disable the users' permission to create users groups, security groups, sorry, and 365 groups. This is the second part of the configuration. Then going further from top to the bottom, enterprise applications. We have all of the applications every time and everywhere. But what we need to do, we need to consider who can do what. And you might think why you're showing us the things that are not following your best recommendations, because I have to prepare environment before presenting you this to make sure that I will be able to show what is wrong, what is good. Do not allow user consent. Do not allow, and this is the part of configuration that I pretty happy with. When it comes to admin consent and who can approve that, then yeah, we can also create such a configuration. It depends on our setup of the environment, like who can do that and so on, but still we can configure that. Going further, app registration. Here again, you might think where we need to configure that. We already did that because we blocked that as a part of the user setup. When it comes to SSPR, we also can say that all of the users can do the self-service password reset, or only part of the users, like a selected group, can do this. My favorite case is, yeah, let's do for all of the people, but do it cleverly. I mean, be aware that it could be a potential vector of attack. So you need to have strong authentication methods within your environment. And by the way, we need to make sure that our users will be aware about things like MFA bombing, like a type of attack that people or hackers will send a lot of requests to MFA until we will say, all right, maybe I should accept that because it's coming all in all, right? It should not be like that. We should try to make it clever, like I said earlier. So yeah, that would be first part. Yeah, I would forget about boot diagnostics or diagnostic settings. You need to save those things into the log analytics to let either you create some queries, or in order, if you will use Sentinel, just to have the advanced automation on the CM solution. So this is the part that, to be honest, it's not required to put any additional costs on your side when you are going to harden your environment. Then going back to the slide deck, yeah, I hope you will like the next point. Have you ever lost access to your environment? Have you got any emergency situation that you were blocked and you were thinking, damn, I don't have access, I lost access? Personally, I've been in this situation long time ago when I was started learning all the stuff. I locked my environment successfully. After some time, I unlocked it. But it's about this particular recommendation is about Cloud Break Glass account. And I hope that you are aware about the Break the Glass account idea. Originally it came from the on-premise world, but it's very nice to adapt in a cloud. And I will show you some recommendations around that. So let's start. This is the last line of the defense in case of compromise. We need to use it as an emergency account, meaning that we should not aim to use it on a daily basis, only in case of emergency. This account should look like a standard user. My favorite test environment wording for those accounts is just in case or KC-wars. Then it should have complex password, require more than one person to log in. Somebody might ask, I had a cough, sorry. Somebody might ask how I can do or how I can require more than one person to log in for a cloud account. It's simple. You can configure, for example, either strong password, divide it into two pieces, store them into two separate safe envelopes or secure envelopes and put it into safe. So it will require two people to be together. Give me first part, I will give you the second part of the password, and voila, we can go. Or you can think the modern way. You can configure a FIDO key for this particular account, and then one person will have a key and second person will have PIN to the key. It's actually pretty nice nowadays with authentication strength that was announced 2 years ago. So going further, this account should be cloud only, meaning it should be on Microsoft.com. It should not have your domain in the name. It should be properly monitored, and it should be excluded from conditional access, MFA, and identity protection. Yes, I understand that if there are any security folks in the room, they might say why we should exclude this particular account, because you don't want to have any blocking solutions for you when everything would be in a bad situation, like account lockdown or environment lockdown or attack or something so, and then you will be frustrated that you're not logging from compliant devices, or you don't know who has the MFA for this particular account. So we should exclude the account from those tools. Plus, we should make it global admin permanently. It should not be related on PIM, because PIM might disable that at some point when you will forget, for example, licenses.
I think you're on mute, Robert. I think you went on mute.
All right, sorry. How
Okay.
long ago? When I
It was
was
just couple
muted?
of seconds. Couple
Yeah,
of
all right, all
seconds.
right. Sorry, I pressed the space, and I think instead of starting the animation, it mute myself.
Yeah,
So
it's all right.
as you can see on the diagram, we have a break the glass account example. So we want to monitor successful login, failed login, account update, and many other changes around this or modification around this particular account, such as user was added to the sensitive group, or user was removed from the sensitive group, or any manual assignment. Every particular modification should be stored in the log analytics, and then it should trigger alarms to make sure that we will get the notification. Small reminder, there is a small delay, up to 5 minutes, when it comes to the notification. Going further to the next slide, where there will be a small demo. So here you can see my example of the break the glass account. I know it's not following the just in case name, but it's test environment. So what we need to do with that? First of all, assign role, right? Then we should exclude this particular account from each conditional access policy to make sure that this account will be available here on the list for the exclusion, just to make sure we will not be blocked. So now you will be able to see that I will go from one to another conditional access policy and excluding my account from the policies. What else? You need to exclude that from identity protection. In the old times, we had that as a separated option, but the latest recommendations are saying that we should move identity protection to the conditional access policy. Then you can see the alerting. I have made some alerts, simple alerts, like following the idea. All right, I have a user account. I will move it here to the rules. I have a user account. I know its name and object ID. So basically, I will create some. I will create some alerts that will be sent to my mailbox when there will be any activity like free failed attempts of login to my environment during last 5 minutes. Then the mail will be released and I will be informed. Basically, all the things that I'm describing today, I will say that again at the end of the session, are well described and visualized on my blog. So at the end of the session, I will show the link to the blog. So you can find those informations around the break the glass account or the 10 points that I'm presenting you during my session. So all the things are well described there with the examples as well. Going further, number 6. Another question, how you control access to the cloud. I hope that most of the people said by conditional access. We need to think about that. We can use the named locations, like we can say that some particular countries should not be allowed to log into our environment. Is it good or bad? I will leave this question to answer all of the people attending this meeting, because we all know that within the VPNs we can change it a little bit. We can enforce MFA, but only MFA, maybe something else. We can control session time. We can block legacy authentication methods. We can enforce terms of use to make sure that we will see screen during the first login to our Azure or Office 365. We will see screen with the terms of use, well known that was in the years ago within the on-premise world. We can enforce access for compliant devices. We can limit user who is a guest type of the user, and we can configure advanced policies through Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. Basically, it's all about conditional access. We have sources of our conditional access policy that are coming or willing to access our environment. And then at some point, we have decisions to be made if we are accepting or we want to have another MFA, or maybe we need to be compliant with 2 or 3 requirements in the same time, or we can just simply saying disable access and block it, right, during the unauthorized access. After that, user can have access to the data, the remote desktops, whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Demo around that. Here you can see the block countries condition that is following the named locations. So basically all the countries which were configured will be blocked when user will try to log in from those. Then, and here I need to go back and say pause. It's also very important to highlight that the recommended solution would be to use all users here within every particular conditional access policy that you are having in your environment. Why? It's because all users are also guests. And you can see that, for example, selected users will be users and groups from your environment, but they will not include guests. So basically, if we want to implement Zero Trust the right way, we should go with the all users, all applications, and then set the configuration in that way to make sure that everything will stay bulletproof, honestly. Point number 7, passwordless. I hope everybody knows that. It's a pretty nice buzzword that comes around the world for the last couple of years. We all know old type of word. We have a user, we have a resource, and a login and password. But nowadays, we can have some advanced techniques on that. We can use FIDO keys, and there are a lot of vendors of the FIDO keys that we can use, either Teacm, Ubico, Trusted Key, many more things you can use. Then we can have a phone, because please remember, Authenticator app can work in a passwordless mode. There are two options, passwordless or push. Most probably all of the users are using push, but we can move it to the passwordless. Then we can be the key, we can be the password based on the biometrics, especially by Windows Hello for Business. Then we can use certificates to log into the environment as well. And there is also temporary access pass as an addition on it. Small demo, what are the options? You need to go to the Entra ID Center. Then under the authentication methods, you will see some of them. Like a FIDO security keys, we can choose who can use that. And here I will say stop. Like I said, we can use this. We can configure that for the break the glass accounts or allow them to be saved by that. And I would recommend you to set FIDO keys as authentication method for all of your highly privileged accounts within your environment. By highly privileged accounts, I'm not thinking about the VIP users or C-level. Of course, we can include those accounts, but by high privileged accounts, I mean accounts which are having access to your environment with the advanced permissions like global admins, security admins, and so on and so on. So we can do some configuration around the FIDO. We can do some configuration around the authenticator, and here you can see that we can switch it to the passwordless mode or even the other mode like a push. You can have temporary access pass, security, certificate-based authentication. So these are the things that we can use in order to enforce that. And one thing around the demo from the passwordless.
Just to like,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, Robert. You just have like right now you have like 8 minutes on this session.
I will
so
finish. I will finish on time. I will finish on time.
Yeah. Just
You have
just
my word. You
reminding.
have my word.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you have my word.
Okay.
Passwordless here. I was providing PIN to my key. And then voila, I was logged in. So basically, let's move on. Number 8. What was missing in conditional access policies? 2 years ago, authentication strengths were released, meaning that we can create some set of configuration that will be used in the conditional access policy, like a small setup of the standard password multi-factor authentication. Then we have a passwordless, like a FIDO and authenticator. and phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, which will be FIDO2 or Windows Hello for Business or certificates. I will skip demo to make sure that you will have time for questions if you would like. Point number 9, what we can see here, it's privileged identity management. I will show pretty quickly how it works. Basically, we have a user who wants to have access to environment as in this particular case, Exchange Online admin. He needs to request the role, then the specific approver should accept it or decline. When the request will be accepted, this information comes to PIM, and PIM, which is a privileged identity management, will assign just-in-time access to the specific role for the user, like in hours. I just want to highlight that PIM can be used in 3 ways: for Azure AD roles, for resources roles, like we can assign contributor role or permission over the specific resources within our subscriptions. And it can be used for privileged access groups as well. So you can be a member of the group only in specific time. Number 10. What's the 10th point on the list? It's identity protection, which is already described by me earlier within the conditional access policies, but why I still have it here. I want to highlight that in the past, conditional access was working as a separate policies, 3 separate policies: sign-in risk, user risk, and MFA registration policy. Nowadays, the idea is to move them to the conditional access policies, so it will help you to secure your environment, and it will help you to have all the nice configurations within the one place. Quick demo, I will skip that. And I would like to, at the end of my session, because we are going to the end of the session, I would like to give you the one word from my side: educate yourself, think what you are doing, because if you have access to your environment within the highest privileges, you are having keys to your kingdom. So when your account would be compromised, very bad things can happen. I have promised that I will give you the link to my blog. So this is the link to my blog. You can use either the first one or second one. They will point you to the same destination. From my side, I would like to thank you organizers for inviting me to this Tech Day event. It was a pleasure to present you the session about 10 things that you can do to make Entra ID more secure. If anybody would have questions about the session, ping me on LinkedIn. I would be happy to answer all of the things. And yeah, let's see if there are any questions. I cannot see any questions over the chat, so I think people will be shy. If you don't want to share and send any questions over the chat, like I said, ping me on LinkedIn, and I will be very happy to answer the things.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask, how can I shift my career from data science to a little bit toward the security side? I want a blend of it. Can you please guide me a little about it?
How to shift the thing, the path? It will be simple if you want to, and it doesn't mean that we need to only think about that from the data science to security guy type of the change. If you want to be a security person, start thinking about what you can make, how you can make more secure your work which you are doing on a daily basis, right? So basically, it's not that I'm knowing every particular thing around the security in Azure. No, because Azure is such a big word in this moment, right? If you started with the data, consider data as a first point, because nowadays data is a key asset, I would say. We are living in the AI world when people are using data heavily. So think about how you can make it more secure. You can use a lot of resources that I mentioned today, like a SIS, like a MITRE ATT&CK, to find informations how to protect the things. And of course, in the meantime, you can try to expand your knowledge about some new undiscovered areas of the environment for you, like, I don't know, identity itself or the networking. Identity is the first thing that comes to my mind, but network is the second thing, because without network, nothing will work, right? So basically, I would recommend you to start making your work on a daily basis more secure, and then expand the knowledge, whatever it will go, because there is no simple answer. You need to go this way or that way, right? It's always depending on where we are and how secure we work. That would be answer from my side.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be it from my side. I think we are on time.
Yeah.
With
Thanks a
small
lot,
delay.
Robert. Thanks for having.
Thank you.
Thanks for
It was
joining
a
us.
pleasure.